My name is Stephen Long, and I host a show here on Rock Candy called Sacred Tension, the podcast about the spiritual discipline of asking questions. We cover topics from LGBT issues to faith and doubt and mental health. We talk to biblical scholars and have conversations about religious abuse and leaving faith and finding it again. We also talk to pastors and skeptics and cult experts who are all sorting out their own journey of faith. Please join me in these conversations on Sacred Tension right here on Rock Candy.
Welcome to the 11 Life podcast.
What's up, 11 Lifers? Matt here. I'm so happy to be in your ears right now at this moment. I have a few announcements for you before we get started today. So first of all, we are changing the scheduling of this podcast. So all of last year, we were releasing brand new episodes every single Friday. And now we've kind of come to this realization that if we are wanting to put out episodes every single Friday, it's going to take us much longer to put out new music. And that's kind of what we're about is writing and playing songs. So 11 Life is moving to a bi-weekly format where we will release every second Friday of the month to give us a little more time for everyone to digest these episodes. You know, a lot of times they're ending up clocking in an hour and a half. Nobody has the time to listen to all of that at one time. At least my favorite podcasts are that length, and it takes me almost an entire week to kind of get through them. So we're changing that format to also allow us some more time here at the Rock Candy Studios to be able to work on some new music, which we already have started on. We're super pumped. You can look forward to a new 11 release this year sometime for sure. We're actually honing in on one right now that we're super excited about, but I won't give you any more information about that because sometimes I give wrong information on here. A huge high five and hello to everybody over at the 11 Life Facebook group. You guys are awesome. I cannot believe these awesome shoes that Emily Pie is creating and sharing with that community. It's super fun. Also, a huge thank you to everybody who is leaving us very kind iTunes reviews for everybody that gets their podcast through Apple Media. That is so nice of you, and we love and appreciate any time that we get reviews, good or bad, because it means somebody's paying attention one way or the other. Hey, guess what? I'm sure that all of you who are listening to the podcast right now have heard this, but we finally have a show. We are playing a show in our hometown of Greenville, South Carolina on 4/20 at the Radio Room, and we cannot be more excited about this show. Can't wait to see all of you guys. It seems like every week I find out there's a new 11 friend flying in from somewhere crazy far away in the U.S. Man, we can't wait to see all of you guys. Today's episode, I sit down with my friend Andy Verdecchio of Five Iron Frenzy. We played/are playing / maybe played together in a band called The Fast Feeling with some other folks from Five Iron. And that's when Andy and I kind of met each other, got to know each other a little bit better. Today's episode gets kind of heavy, so if you're in a super good mood, you might want to save this for one of your more emo moments. But I absolutely loved sitting down and catching up with him. He's one of my favorite people. He's one of my favorite drummers, and he has a brand new book out right now, a brand new children's book that you can get to simply by clicking the very first link that you see in the show notes for this show. And yes, we're already at 3 minutes of me just gabbing at the top of the hour, so I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Let's roll it. Why didn't I think I was gonna get this kind of imagery of you whenever we decided to do this?
What imagery?
You're just so infinite chill.
I do it again.
You do what you can. Yeah.
That's better.
So you're good? You got all the kids to bed?
Well, no, they're still up, but
you watched a cat video?
Yes.
Do you have specific?
Have you seen the patty cake one where they're playing patty cake and they keep arguing with each other over how to pay patty cake? It's dubbed over with people doing the voices, but it's really funny.
I haven't seen this. I might need to check it out. Is this your go-to when you're putting kids to sleep?
No, it's just I was just watching funny cat videos and, doing important things with my time. Well, yeah. Well, they weren't there at first. I was just watching them by myself.
Oh, you were just watching cat videos all alone. Okay, kids, if you want to join in, go for it. Do you are you happy with your setup? Are you good?
As far as sound and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Can you hear me okay?
Is this a video podcast or is it just audio? Okay, good. My hair, I'm not looking slick right now.
You know what? I can't defend.
I'm in my pajamas.
I can't defend any of your band anymore because you're the second person from your band to be on the podcast and then ask if it was a video podcast. And I just want to be like, so by nature, podcasts are actually not video. And I just want to like clarify that because there's so much.
Because Tom Segura's podcast they've videotaped. I mean, you can just listen to the audio if you want, but you can also watch the video of them in the studio talking and stuff.
I think he made
same
so
thing with
much
Joe
more.
Rogan too.
Yeah, I keep hearing everybody telling me how awesome the Joe Rogan. I've checked out a few episodes of his podcast. I'm just like, I don't know if we have the technical bandwidth to be able to pull off like videoing it, because a lot of times the shows will get edited. If I ask you a question and it takes you a really fucking long time to answer me, I'll just take out all that space so you sounding amazingly intelligent at the end of it, because I asked you a really, really personal, deep question and it seems like you just pulled it out of thin air. So I feel like it's for the better. And if you did that and there was video involved, you would get this weird sort of like, oh my God, what? Everything's jumpy and off-putting. Yeah.
Do you like my expensive microphone? You have an expensive microphone.
It looks like you were playing Halo in 2006, and this is the remnants of that.
These are cool, dude. These headphones sound good. They're just cheap skull candy, but
hey, whatever works, man. I'm a big fan of whatever works. You look so sleepy right now.
I haven't seen you in forever. No, I got up at about 5 o'clock this morning to go to work.
Yeah,
and it was like a crazy snow day today. We got a lot of snow, so it sucked because I was driving around in the snow and stuff. But
we've had a ton of snow here recently, but today it literally felt like summer. It was like almost 70 degrees outside. It was crazy. Yeah. I talk to Scott like every few months about getting up there and trying to go snowboarding. I don't know if that's your bag or not. You like to go snowboarding?
I haven't been snowboarding in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do it anymore.
Why not?
I'm a rickety old guy now.
That's the word I use to describe myself. I'm actually taking glucosamine tablets because I have like a degenerative bone disease in my spine now. I think from just like wearing guitars too low and sleeping in vans and all of that stuff for way too long. And so this is the price you pay.
Yeah, that joint juice stuff is pretty good.
Okay.
Have you seen that? It's got glucosamine and chondroitin.
I don't know about that.
You don't know about chondroitin?
That nanotechnology like puts
no,
robots in your blood?
Chondroitin that's just something that's already in your body, just like glucosamine.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I am no scientist. I just like when I reach a pain threshold that I can't handle anymore, I just go to the doctor and do whatever they tell me to do.
My son is being goofy in the background and trying to get my attention.
Do you need to give it to him?
No, he's fine.
Okay. He's going to turn out all right.
We're working at it anyway. Okay, go to bed, dude. Sorry. You were saying?
You're good. No, yeah. This is great. This is like little snapshots of like actual life that happen that I love having on the podcast because one of the things I always hate whenever I'm like whenever I hear bands talking about their music or like things that they do, it always feels so put on, like so rehearsed. It always just kind of feels like, I don't know. And I feel like there's a level of pretension to it that kind of accompanies that as well, where it's like, no, we're all people just doing a thing. Like, just talk about that. That's more interesting than,
people are people.
Yeah. Why should it be?
Why should it be?
Is that Depeche Mode?
I don't
Erasure?
know who it is. Maybe I think Erasure sounds more likely.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, so what's floating your boat lately? What have you been up to?
Just been working a lot. I got the book release on Sunday, so we're doing a little party at this place called Book Bar, and it's a kid's book, so I have lots of kids there and little kids activities and stuff like that. So yeah.
So you wrote the book for kids.
Yeah.
But you sound so disillusioned with having to be around a lot of them to show it to.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind kids at all. I don't mind kids at all.
Okay.
I mean, kids by nature can be very overwhelming, but if I'm not responsible for them, have at it. Do what you want.
Is it less
Go
stressful
ahead.
for you to not be to know that that's like your boundary? It's like, I'm not responsible for other people's kids unless they're like walking into traffic.
Right. Of course, yeah. I mean, if it's someone else's kid and they're shoving pencils up their nose or whatever, I'm not going to stop them. It's not my problem. I don't know that I would even stop my kids if they were doing that. I'd just be like, ugh.
What if they're really long pencils and they're sharp?
I guess I just assumed that it would be the eraser end of the pencil that they would be putting in their nose.
Yeah, you're right. I was doing it wrong as a kid, apparently. That might explain a lot.
When I was younger, I had a nephew, and I still feel bad about this to this day, but we had this bush in the front of our house.
Yeah.
Where I was growing up in Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
Yeah.
And my nephew, he was an incessant pain in my ass.
Yeah.
I love him to death, but at that age, he was just, he lived to torture me and get on my nerves. And we were close enough in age that where he was more like my little brother than my nephew.
Yeah.
So I held him down one time, and we had this berry bush in the front of our house, and I shoved berries up his nose. And we couldn't get them back out.
Oh my God.
So he had to go to the hospital and have them removed.
Oh my God.
By a professional. Yes.
How fucking hard are you shoving berries up a kid's nose?
I just wanted to see how many I could get in there.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, sometimes family's more likely to press charges. That's been my experience so far.
No, nobody pressed charges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Did you have to foot the ER bill?
No. Oh, okay. I was like maybe 14 or something like that.
Oh, okay, so cool.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining you as like a grown ass man and you like hold this kid down.
No. He was a little kid.
Yeah.
But
you kind of were too. That's.
Yeah.
Were you a bully growing up?
No, I was the bullied.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It sounds like it, shoving fruit up people's noses.
No. Well, it wasn't fruit. They were poisonous berries.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if they were poisonous. All I knew is we weren't supposed to eat them.
Okay.
Because they would make us sick.
Poisonous or venomous, I guess, depending on how aggressive the berries were.
I wasn't like shoving them up there violently. I was just,
Yeah.
It was did you have older siblings?
I was the oldest sibling. Yeah.
Okay, so when you were hanging out with your younger siblings, did you ever do the spit game where you drool spit out of your mouth and see how close you can get to their face and then suck it up?
We never did that. But I also I historically have not been like a physically aggressive or intimidating presence. I don't think in anyone's life.
Did you have little brothers, or do you have little brothers or little sisters?
I do. I have 2 little brothers and 2 little sisters.
You didn't pick on your little brothers?
No, I just kind of wanted to be left alone. I feel like they picked on me, or I feel like the brother who I'm closest to in age, I think he would kind of pick on me, or I was always just super into like building Legos and like reading stuff. So he would he's always coming knocking my Legos down and just, I don't know, crying out for attention somehow. Just bugged the hell out of me when I was growing up. I hated it.
That was me.
Yeah.
I was always bugging my older brothers, but they were older by a lot, so.
But why do you think it comes so naturally to siblings to want to bug their older brothers or sisters?
I think you just want their attention and you want to be cool.
Like validation.
Sure, yeah.
You're like looking for validation in the most off-putting ways.
Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah. Like throwing shoes at them when they're trying to do their homework or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. So, but you were saying that you got bullied a lot.
I did.
It was like within your family or in school. Okay.
Well, I did in my family too. I mean, 4 older brothers I got bullied. I got bullied. My brother's favorite game was we had a wood box in our house.
Yeah.
Do you know what a wood box is? So it's basically it's a wooden box, or in our case, it was a wooden box.
Is it like the boo box from Hook?
No, it was where we put all our firewood.
Oh, okay.
In this box. And then like all of the, and then, like newspapers, old newspapers for, kindling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And their favorite game was when the box was empty, they would shove me in there.
Yeah.
And then lock the lid until I panicked.
Oh my God. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Andy. Wow.
It was scary, but it's, I guess, I don't know, rite of passage or something.
What did that teach you about people when that was happening to you? What was the lesson you walked away with?
Not to trust people.
Like especially family?
They're all dangerous.
Oh, okay.
They're all dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally understand that. I'm still unraveling things that happened to me in my childhood and how it made me view people, and sometimes in healthy ways, sometimes in unhealthy ways. Like just, being able to trust people. I feel like I've gone through definite periods of my life where I've just like, I just don't trust anybody. It doesn't matter. You can't do anything. You can't say anything. You can't do anything except for put in the time. And at any given moment, I could just pull it all out. Like I'll just like take all the trust away because of something that you didn't even know was like a big deal to me. Like just ridiculous stuff like that. So,
I'm not really like that.
Yeah.
I kind of hold people at a distance,
Yeah.
that I don't know, like that aren't close to me already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like new people, it takes a while to get into my little circle of trust, as they say in certain movies.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you feel like people just have to put in the time? Are there like relational buzzwords that you feel like you look for, or like what are things people do that would allow them to be sort of brought into the fold, as it were?
Really, you just have to not be an asshole.
That's such a low bar.
It is a low bar, but it's a hard one to hit, apparently, for a lot of people.
Okay.
Like we live in kind of an upscale neighborhood in Colorado. It's not like posh or anything like that, but it's middle class, upper middle class.
Yeah.
And I don't like these people. I don't like. I really don't.
Tell us how you really feel, Andy.
They're all like up at 4 a.m. jogging in their spandex and, all trying to be Lance Armstrong. And
how does that affect you? What is it about that you find so off-putting?
That's none of that in and of itself is off-putting.
Okay.
But I know that the conversation is going to be horseshit from the get-go. I hate small talk, dude. I can't. Like it's nails on a chalkboard for me. I can't sit there and go, "Hey, how's the kids?" I just want to stab someone. It's impossible to deal with, man. Like I just, like if I saw my neighbor, it's one thing to say, "Hey, good to see you," whatever.
Yeah.
Just small niceties are okay, but like the excruciating small talk of like, talking about the mortgage on your house value has gone up, and I just am like, this is not interesting to me at all.
Yeah.
And I end up just staring into my drink. You know what I mean? Like when I drank, like back when I would drink, I would just stare into my drink and just, play with the ice in my drink and like pretend I was anywhere else.
So what do you think the subtext to those kinds of conversations are? Like when people want to bring up stuff like, "Hey, so how are the kids? Oh, have you noticed how like the mortgage conversation, all that stuff." There's
no subtext.
You really think they're just telling you what their values are and trying to get you to mirror their values back to them?
I think it's even more shallow than that.
Oh shit.
I think it's by and large, I think people are just waiting, for their turn to talk. Oftentimes, I don't think people are listening to you. I mean, and I'm generalizing. I'm painting with a very broad brush here, but as far as like the surfacey conversation goes, that's what I get out of it. Like friends, like for instance, if Brad and I hang out, like Brad's my best friend.
Yeah.
Brad from Five Iron.
Yeah.
If we hang out, I mean, we don't really have to say much to each other. We're just happy to be hanging out together.
Yes.
We don't have to go, how's the kids, how's school, how's work,
Yeah.
It's like we have better things to talk about. Like, it's not that they're important things, but they're things that interest the two of us. We don't have to get past that whole, it's so agonizing. I really do hate small talk. I hate platitudes,
Okay.
and stuff like that. I just think of something interesting to say, or just don't speak. Do
you feel like
we don't have to be friends? Yeah, I know you're my neighbor. I know you live across the street or down the block.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that we have in common is geography. That's it. And it's okay to not be friends with every person on your block. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like for instance, if my neighbor goes out of town,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know him, but I know he's going out of town.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye out of the corner of my eye just to make sure nobody fucks with his shit.
Yeah,
you know
of
what
course.
I mean? But other than that, I mean, that's just called being neighborly, but we don't have to be friends. I don't want to be friends with my neighbors. I'm all friended up. I've got all the friends I need.
Do you know what's really weird about that? I kind of don't either. Like Jessica was reminding me of this like a couple of weeks ago. She was like, we've like lived here for like almost a year. We haven't really like reached out to anybody. And I was like, what? But what are we going to do in this day and age? Are we going to like bake cookies and like take them over to people's houses? Like, we don't know what the situation is. Like what? And it's not that I don't enjoy meeting new people. I love meeting new people. I love meeting people, especially like what you're saying, who like have things stimulating to talk about, have questions about the universe and love and life and passion and art. I love those kinds of things because I gravitate towards those sorts of things. I don't do very well with small talk. I don't know if I do super well with like relating to people with which I have made the assumption, whether right or wrong, that I don't have a lot in common with. And I also like for my house or my home to kind of be this place where like I have some emotional distance from everything so that I can recharge. I don't want to feel like I'm obligated to make sure that I'm like waving at everybody and saying, hey, I'm making the small talk and like maintaining all the relationships. Like most of my life happens outside of my house and I'd rather it happen there. And then when I'm here, I just like don't feel like I have an incentive to like be super neighborly. I don't know. Somebody might change my mind.
My wife is, Mindy she's the polar opposite.
Okay.
She loves talking to people and getting to know them and stuff like that. And in some ways she's drawn me out of my shell a little bit, which is good. I still don't like small talk, but I won't just walk away from you in mid-sentence anymore. You know what I mean?
You've done that to people?
I've ghosted conversations before.
Okay.
I don't know if it was ever in a situation where it's just two people, like just me and another person, where I just walk away from them in mid-sentence. But
yeah.
Like if there's like, some of the schools in our neighborhood, because we're DPS, we're public schools.
Yeah.
My kids go to, and they have these little fundraiser things, and occasionally we show up to contribute. And then you meet these people, and it's like, there's like this expectation that you're going to have something in common just because, both of your sperm works properly. Oh, you had a kid and I had a kid, so now we have to sit here and talk about what? And honestly, to be honest with you,
okay,
and this is not I'm not saying this in a weird creeper sort of way.
Yeah.
I like my son's friends more than I like their parents.
Okay.
Not just because, they come over, they're polite, they don't always, I'm kind of old school. I like to be called Mr. Verdecchio by the little kids, but none of them do. We're way past that. They all just call me Andy.
Okay.
And it's fine, but they're polite. and then, and then they fuck off. Go play with my kids. And that's all I have to, that's all I have to see of them.
Yeah.
They come in. Hi, Andy. Can Charlie play? Yeah, sure. Let me go get him. Okay. And
you made everybody happy, and you had to do nothing but just like let them in the door.
And occasionally they'll come back in after playing, and I'll go, are you guys hungry? You want something to eat? Are you thirsty? Want some water? And they'll say, yes, please, or whatever. And and then they'll drink their water, and then they'll fuck off again.
It's the little things.
Fantastic.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
Okay, but so, and we can totally move on from talking about neighbors, but I wonder, do you think that they're, because I feel like you probably live around a lot more of that than I do or would. Do you think sometimes people are just trying to, like maybe let's just say, for instance, like I'm another dad. I show up at a function, and like, I know that you play in a band. I've got a little bit of a musical background. I think we might have some things in common, or I know where you live, or we have some mutual friends. And like, I don't necessarily know exactly how to start up a conversation with you. So I put out those feelers. I put out some small talk feelers just to kind of see like, oh, okay, well, can we at least, because I don't want to like dive into stuff that you're not going to be interested in.
Well, I mean, okay. So that I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Like for instance, if someone knows, and someone knows I'm in a band or something like that, and they come up to me and they say, hey, I heard you're in a band, and that strikes a conversation. That's fine. Like, especially if they're also a musician, and then I find out, and, then you have something to talk about. Oh, I'm a bass player. Oh, cool. What kind of rig do you have, or whatever? And then you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
But, I can't talk about the weather, man. I can't talk about property value. I can't talk about homeowners association dues. I fucking don't.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My son's sneaking down here and listening to my bad language. That's okay. I don't censor myself that much for them anyway. So.
Yeah. Do you guys have different language barriers between you and Mindy? Like there's some stuff you can say around dad, but you can't say around mom.
I don't know about that. Yesterday, my son was he has a couple bullies at school, and he was talking about how he was expressing his feelings to me, and I was bullied in school, so I can relate. So I'm sitting there listening to him, and he's really upset, and he's crying, and he's really, he's very animated like me, and boisterous.
Yeah.
When he's expressing himself, and he's like, and they just pick on me and this and that, and he says it's just bullshit. And I didn't, because he used the word right.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like demeaning against another person. No, it was out of a genuine frustration he was feeling.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with that, and I let it go. And I said, when he was done, I said, I know how you feel. And when he said it, he kind of stopped for a second to kind of gauge how I was going to respond. See if he was in trouble or not. And then, we just moved on.
Yeah.
So, I don't really, he's a very bright kid. So, I don't worry about stuff like that. So they're just words.
These kinds of like interactions that you have with your son, do you feel like they become fuel for the output that you have like as an author? Like maybe specifically for the latest book that you were working on, or?
Well, the book that's coming out on Sunday was actually inspired by my friend Shannon. Well, she's the illustrator of the book. She's my partner in this whole writing thing.
I think I got to meet her at the Fast Feeling photo shoot that we did that one time.
Yeah, she took our pictures.
Yeah, she was lovely.
Yeah. But she told me about this nightmare that she had where she was being attacked by this dinosaur, and how much anxiety and dread it caused in her. And we're having this conversation, and then this idea for a story hit me like a ton of bricks, and I kind of hung up on her.
You walked away, but she was talking about the mortgage rates.
She was mid-sentence, and I got to go, and I hung up, and I started writing it.
Yeah.
And I called her back maybe 2 hours later after I'd finished writing it. And I read it to her, and I had turned her nightmare into this story of like facing down your fears and winning, beating them by facing them down. Yeah. And she was like, this is the best thing you've ever written, because it spoke to her on a personal level. Sure. And we ironed out the wrinkles in it and stuff like that and worked on it and made a book out of it. But the next one I'm working on, the one that's going to follow this one, is definitely inspired by my son and the bullying and stuff like that and how to handle it. And, I don't want to give too much away about it, but I'm really excited about that one. And then I got another one that I just started working on the outline for. That was another idea that just, it was another one of those situations where it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just started writing the outline for it. So
that's awesome, man. Do you ever find yourself like as an adult, like trying to create literature or art that you feel like would have spoken to a younger you?
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. I don't, so like there are in both of these, this one that's coming out and the one that's going to follow it. Yeah. They're both children's books. One's a little bit more advanced, like, I don't want to say young adult, but maybe preteen age. Yeah. But I don't dumb down my vocabulary or anything like that for children, because we don't do that in our house. Like if I want to, if I'm explaining something to my son and I use a big word that he doesn't know, I'll ask him if he knows what it means. And if he says no, I'll explain to him what it means. Okay. And then I'll have him repeat it back to me. Yeah. The word, and pronounce it properly, and then tell me what it means. And now he knows a new word. You know what I mean? Like, instead of talking down to your kids like they're imbeciles, I think that's, that's not how I want to raise my kids. Yeah. I think that's a cool value. I think children are smarter, a lot more intelligent than people give credit. They're capable of understanding concepts that maybe as a culture, we think they're incapable of understanding and grasping.
So this begs the question: if your approach from a literary standpoint is to keep or maintain like a vocabulary integrity that's in keeping with what yours is as an adult, what is it that you feel like makes the book a kid's book if the vocabulary is not the thing that reflects that? Or is it the story, or like what is that? How does that play out in your mind? Well,
I'm not going to write a children's book that's, loaded with 50-cent words. You know what I mean? Right. But if I feel like it's important for it to be there and it's a word that describes precisely what I'm trying to illustrate, then I'm going to use it. Yeah. And like my daughter, she read Little, the story that's coming out. Yeah. And there's a few advanced words in there. Yeah. And she sat there and sounded it out. Yeah. And figured them out. Yeah. And she's 6. She's 6 years old, and she read it all by herself. She was all excited to read it to me. And so I sat down and listened, and, I helped her out a little bit, Yeah. But for me, it's not a matter of pushing your kids. Your kids are going to want to, and to some degree, push themselves. They want to, they want your favor, and in some ways, they want to impress you, right? Yeah. Because they look up to you. To me, it's not a matter of pushing them to do better. They want to do better. Yeah. It's like going,
giving them the opportunity to do better.
Yeah. Giving the opportunity to do it, and then encouraging them to. Yeah. And then when they do a good job, wow, that was really, really good. You did a good job.
I love that. That's such a cool approach, Andy. And you get to do all this like free market research at story time. Right. Before you put them to bed. Like, okay, well, this story kind of fell flat. Guess we're not going to put that one out. That's really cool. Are either of your kids as interested in drumming as you as you were?
Heidi is interested in music, my daughter.
Okay.
A lot more than my son is. My son likes music, and he's expressed interest in the drums.
Yeah.
But Heidi is the one that regularly goes down to the basement and starts banging on the keyboard and trying to, make up songs.
Yeah.
We'll have little jam sessions together and stuff like that.
Oh, that's got to be fun.
Excuse me. Yeah. So
that's super cool, man. So do you still find that to be like a creative outlet for you personally?
Music?
Yeah. Because I think that changes over the year, or the way in which you enjoy it kind of changes over the years. Like, I don't know, life happens. It just like,
I feel like writing literature, poetry and stuff like that. I feel like that's sort of taken Hi, I have a guest. Hey, hi, Walter.
Oh, nice.
Hi,
kitties.
Meow. Meow. You talk to me? No, he's out.
Okay. He had a cat visit.
I had a cat visit. He's my best buddy. Where was it? What was I saying before?
You're talking
my cat
about,
came down?
I think you were talking about feeling creatively fulfilled, probably more so in poetry than you would have.
So, yeah, I feel like it's taken over more of my attention than music has.
Because you want it to?
No, I think I found an interest in it, and I think I found a little bit of a niche. And I mean, it's a labor of love. I'm not making any money on it. Yeah. You know what I mean? In fact, this book that we're about to release, so far we've lost money on it, but we're proud of it, and like I said, it's a labor of love, and we just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you think it reminds you of putting out at like one of your first albums, or like going in and doing like an EP or a demo and then like pressing it and like seeing what the world thinks about it? Is it a similar feeling, or is it different?
It's similar, but this is something that I've done on my own. So I think it's a little bit more gratifying.
Okay.
Because, it's just me and Shannon,
Yeah.
Like I'll write out an idea and send it to her, and then her wheels will start spinning and she'll start thinking of illustrations.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of build on it from there, and we do it from the ground up.
Yeah.
We do it all in house, editing, all of it.
It's DIY.
And it's, on the last book, on October, we farmed out for a couple of the short stories, we farmed out the editing process. And we were so unhappy with the way it came back because it didn't resemble anything that I had written. And I wasn't disappointed because it wasn't like there was a publisher making me do it or something like that.
Yeah.
I could do whatever I want. So Shannon and I just sat down on one of the stories. We sat down probably 2 or 3 times for about an hour and a half to 2 hours each.
Yeah.
Reading through the entire story and going, okay, this doesn't make sense or whatever, and fixing it.
Yeah.
And sort of trimming the fat and kind of deciding how we wanted to tell the story. And I think it turned out great. It's my favorite story in the book.
Yeah.
The other one that we had this person edit, it ended up going back to the original with it, but it wasn't anything that I was as passionate about as I was for the story I'm talking about. The one that we really liked was called Milo.
Yeah. Do you have the ability to kind of whittle down what it is that you like or that you don't? Because I feel like I run into this like in a really like everything that you're saying right now. I feel like parallels kind of what happens in the studio with, you get this really raw idea, you bring it to the table, everybody kind of hacks away at it until you're all happy. But like, what does it really mean when people are like, it just doesn't resemble like my vision for it, or like, and a lot of times it can be, the song's not really about what it used to be about. Like, and maybe it's about something more accessible, but it's not the story I wanted to tell, or it doesn't sound like what I heard in my head. So I'm just not as passionate about that. Even though that passion that you kind of would have for that sound in your head, you don't know if you'll ever achieve it. Even if you were to have more time, it's like kind of this weird, maddening cycle. And I wonder if there are any parallels to that, like when you guys are going through this process, because it sounds kind of fascinating, especially when you're thinking about a specific audience like kids.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little different because it's just me and Shannon.
Yeah.
So like when we were working on the fast feeling stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the most, I wrote a lot of the lyrics for Dangerous.
Yeah.
You wrote the template for it, but I kind of wrote a lot of the lyric. Like I kind of went back and used that template and wrote a lot of kind of lyrics, and it got chipped away at, and move this over here and change some things over there.
Yeah, it was mega fun.
And it turned out to be something that we all liked. In this situation, it's different in that it's just me.
Okay.
Right. So, Shannon she'll put her creative input and constructive criticism in.
Yeah.
But I mean, our sort of professional agreement is that you have the last say if you wrote it.
Okay.
And for her, it's her illustrations. So when she sends me an illustration, I'll give her some constructive criticism and creative input. And she can either say, that's a good idea, I like that, or I'm not too interested in that idea. But we're also very respectful of each other, so we try to compromise as best we can. And we work really well together, so, it hasn't been a conflict in any of those instances.
Yeah, I'm really glad you bring that up, because that was the first time that I had, like when you and I were working on the Fast Feeling record, that was the first time that I had gone into a writing session where there were so many pre-agreed upon rules that I wasn't aware of like how everything gets written, because I was so used to everything being super scattershot, where it's like everybody bring your best stuff, we throw it all in a pile, and then we keep just following the things that float to the top or that interest us. And then we'll build this thing together kind of out of nothing. And it feels really chaotic at the beginning, and you just kind of sit in that chaos for a minute and let the stuff rise. But it seemed like you guys had all of these like kind of interesting little bits. Like if you brought the original idea to the song, you get to have the final say, if how it all ends up. I feel like whenever Scott and Reese and I were working on Pool Party stuff, that obviously will never see the light of day, I feel like there were some interesting rules that kind of were coming up in those sessions as well. Mm-hmm. For me personally, this is like a distinctly 5-iron thing. At this point, I would have to call it that because I haven't had that experience with any other bands. But do you feel like these are holdovers from stuff that you guys did together, or?
I mean, I think so to a certain degree. So with 5-iron, there have been some of the there's always been sort of this. We have our chief songwriters. When Scott was in the band in the first incarnation of 5-iron. Yeah. He was the primary songwriter, and Dennis would write a little bit as far as music. And by and large, Reese wrote the lyrics.
Yeah.
And with a couple exceptions. And then we would tweak them and stuff like that, and try and make a good song out of it. Once Scott left the band, I started contributing more to the songwriting process.
Yeah.
But I've never really considered myself a songwriter because I mainly I like writing cool riffs.
Yeah.
That's kind of how Scott is a very sort of conventional songwriter where he builds off of a vocal melody or a melody of some kind.
Yeah. His process makes a lot of sense. It's repeatable.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine is I was jamming on my guitar at 3:00 in the morning. I came up with this riff and recorded it on my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I started putting things together on GarageBand and submitted it. And, oftentimes the final product sounds nothing like what I submitted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That is very much a 5-iron kind of way of doing things. Right now, the songwriters are Scott, Dennis, and Reese working on the new material right now.
Okay.
That's kind of the way things are going, and it's a very slow process because everyone lives in a different state.
Oh, yeah.
And we all have full-time jobs and kids and baseball and basketball and, gymnastics and dance classes and all that stuff. Yeah. So, I get kind of, I'm going off on a bunny trail here, but I get how some of our fans are frustrated with us because we haven't released anything in a long time. But, how long was it between, I'm not even going to compare myself to the specials. But I'm just saying, sometimes that time breeds really good material. And then sometimes it breeds Chinese democracy.
Yeah.
Which is good, right?
That's funny. Do you feel like, I feel like you had published a book of poetry or prose like before we started doing fast feeling stuff. Is that true? This would be like pre 2015, 2016.
Did it come out beforehand?
Or like it was about?
I thought it was after. I think I was working on it when we were working on the fast feeling.
Do you feel like there might have been something in that process that empowered you to kind of come into the fast feeling writing process a little differently? Or like, I've got some cool words. I've got things to say. I've got ideas.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but when we started, right when we were first about to start recording, Mindy was diagnosed with cancer.
Yes, I do remember that. With
breast cancer. So some things got put on hold, and that sort of upended my whole like worldview and everything.
Yeah.
So, and I sort of went through this process, and I'm still going through this process, even though we're, in remission, and it's the outlook is, looking good.
Yeah.
I'm still sort of in this process of like reevaluating priorities and trying to figure out what's really important and what's not important at all. What is it that I want to say and put out there is if it's really important.
Yeah.
And, I went back and read recently, I don't know if it's like this with other authors, but, sometimes you forget what you wrote.
Yeah, of course.
And then you go back and you read it and you're like, oh, I was in a weird place then or something.
Yeah.
But when I went back and read October, some of the entries in there, I was like, man, I was really self-absorbed when I wrote a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of woe is me type of stuff in there.
Sure.
Some of that was written before the diagnosis. Some of that was written after.
Yeah.
But I feel like now I'm in this place where I'm a little less self-serving in my writing.
Okay.
And my outlook is a little brighter.
Yeah.
I think.
It sounds like a reflection of your reality. I mean, cancer's in remission. Like,
Yeah. And I think anytime you can't really, like with music or whatever it may be, any sort of artist expression.
Yeah.
Scott's the one that told me this, and I think it resonates with me because I think there's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah.
Like when a musician, like let's say a singer writes lyrics for a song, they're writing that song. What they're writing is in the moment, and that's how they're feeling right then.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go back and look at past stuff, you have to kind of keep that in mind that that's how they were feeling right then. Yeah, that may not be how they feel right now.
It's supposed to feel a little foreign. It means that you've moved on.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. It's so weird that you reminded me of that, because I remember flying into Colorado, and I don't even think Scott and I made it back to his house, and he got a call from you, and I could tell that there was something just like mega heavy that was happening. And I wasn't sure, like, if I was prepared. What a fucking selfish thought to think. I was like, I don't know how to be in this situation. I'm not really sure what to do. I remember coming over to your. Was that the first time that we met each other? Was like we literally came over like after Mindy had been diagnosed.
I don't even think I'd talked to you on the phone yet.
Yeah, I remember that feeling like such a bizarre thing. Like the first time I'm going to meet this person is during a moment that like I wouldn't wish on anybody, and that I've never experienced myself, and I'm not sure how to be. Yeah, but I do remember the weight of that, just the weirdness of the just feeling like, oh my God, what do you say? What do you do? How do you be encouraging? How do you be empathetic? Like, I think I might have ended up just like hanging out in Charlie's room because he had a friend over and like playing with cars or something, or like the little zippy things, the spin top things. I can't remember.
Beyblades. They're called Beyblades.
Yes, Beyblades. I think I was just
he was way into those for a while. But honestly, I think one of the things I learned in that situation just by being, I know. My wife just walked in the room. She's pointing at the dogs.
Oh, okay.
And they're both sleeping on the couch next to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of the things I learned just by being on the receiving end of it is, I think this is where my bitter distaste for platitudes sort of really got turned up.
Yes.
It really turned the volume up on that because, I mean, there's so much of it and you hear the same phrases over and over again. Yeah. And it's fine when it's genuine, but like one thing about Shannon is they never said, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't say these things.
Yeah.
But if you say them, they need to be genuine and you need to mean it.
Yeah.
But Shannon never said, I don't think they ever said anything we can do to help or whatever. She just showed up. Rang the doorbell. I have this for you guys, or sometimes she would just show up and have tea with us and sit there and talk or whatever, or have a drink with me or whatever. And, their family, they were there. They didn't have to say, and there were a lot of people. We did I think it's called Caring Bridge.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And people can sign up to do things for you. Sometimes it's just bring you meals or whatever it is. Meals are a big deal, dude. Yeah, like people don't realize.
Try going without them.
Going through. But I mean, in a situation like this, like if you've just gone through a death in the family, or or someone's battling cancer or MS or something like that. Yeah. Just showing up with some pre-made food that you can just put in a pot and heat up and eat and it's good. Yep. That's huge because you don't have time to make meals.
Yeah.
You're busy going to doctor's appointments and, especially if you have kids in a situation like that, you still have, your kids still need you even though you're going through this heavy thing.
Yeah.
So you still have to be a parent. You still have to do all these other things. And then you have this added weight of this, whatever it is, disease or whatever that you're going through.
Yeah,
or loss of a loved one or whatever, and the grief of all that. Just having someone show up with that, something like that is great. Or even just like a plate of cookies, or whatever, or here, guys, I got you guys a gift certificate to go see a movie just to take a night off from all this shit.
Yeah.
Those things are all huge. You don't have to donate $1,000 or anything like that.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed as I get older is that most of the vernacular that sort of emanates from people in moments of grief is for themselves. It's to make them feel better. It's to help them make sense of it. It's to help them feel like, you know what, I said a thing, I reached out, I was kind. It really has nothing to do with alleviating the stress or the pain or the suffering in the other person's life as much as they might want or wish that it did.
Well, I don't want to discount that either, though, because it is awkward for people,
Sure.
Like, because think about what that does for a person when they realize someone they're very close to has a very serious illness or something terminal, right? All of a sudden they're faced with their own, they're not, look, we don't get to be here forever,
their own mortality.
Some people's time is up sooner than others and you never know and all that, that all sounds sort of cliche, but when that comes down on you really heavy, it's you don't know how to handle it. And so I don't want to discount people's feelings of feeling. You're right that a lot of that comes from, are you hearing this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the background, I mean?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll be up in just a little bit, okay? What was I saying?
I think we were kind of like, we were in this interesting place where it's like, you don't want to discount people's efforts to kind of reach out to you in these moments of grief. I think what it reminds me of is like there's a difference between people attempting to sort of make contact with you in an emotional way, attempting to alleviate your suffering, attempting to be there and be present and be emotionally supportive for you, that have never gone through what you've gone through. And then you have this whole other set of people who have actually gone through this shit. And it's almost like they, like what you were saying, they literally showed up and they brought food. It wasn't like this big production. Like I would make a big production out of that in my mind. Like, what do I do? How am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do to help this situation out? And it's just the simple things of like when you've experienced a grief or a loss that way, it just sort of tunes you into the other person in this like, I don't know, almost like metaphysical way of like, hey, I'm here. Like, and you can say it without saying it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, it's okay to say those things, but you have to follow up on it.
Yeah.
What were some of the, I think one was just somebody saying, I'll watch your kids.
Yeah.
I know you guys have to go to this appointment. I'll watch the kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's a small thing, but it's really big.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
and those are the kinds of things I remember.
That sounds like Leonore.
She did watch the kids quite a few times for us. She really did, yeah. And you know what Leonore did? Leonore and Stephen both. In the midst of all of this stuff, they were like, you guys are going to go out. I don't know if it was just a date night or anniversary. I can't remember, but they were like, it's all on us.
Oh.
You guys go, yeah. And that was like, that's what we needed.
Yeah.
You know,
man.
And there were lots of people that did things like that. You know, the Kerrs brought food over.
Yeah.
What's that?
Stephanie gave us grocery cards.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Stephanie gave us a grocery card to buy groceries.
She's an angel.
Because you know, yeah. I mean, all of these little things kind of show you who your real friends are and people that really care about you. And you know, it's sad, but some friends fell by the wayside. They couldn't handle it, which is unfortunate. But honestly, I'm like, you were never really a real friend anyway.
That's a whole nother thing to grieve when you go through those experiences. Sort of sifting through all that.
The newest project that I just started working on is a story about letting go of grief, but it's sort of a cosmic horror type of
I love it.
thing.
I love it. Oh man. Well, you were saying earlier, and I know it's probably late over there. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
I'm good, dude.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, it sounds like you went, or you had mentioned, you know, when your wife got this diagnosis, that it sort of started to recenter some things in your mind. It kind of like shook your world to a degree. What did that look like for you on like a spiritual level, like on a outlook on life kind of level? How did that play out for you? What were the things that you feel like you couldn't go back to anymore? After you got the information, it seemed like you got this information and you're like, and it starts manifesting itself in these ways. Like, I can't handle small talk anymore. Life's too short, you know?
Yeah, that was one thing. Another thing was I have no room in my life for one-sided friendships.
Okay.
So like I'm not interested in having friends where I'm always the one that's reaching out and trying to maintain the friendship.
Yeah.
That's just an exercise in, you know, heartbreak, you know, and I lost some family relationships and some friendships over that. And I think one of the other things is learning how to extend a little grace because, you know, to the people that you're close to and that you love, because I know that a lot of grace was extended to me because there was times where I was a complete jackass. I mean, there were times when I threw my friends under the bus on social media and stuff like that. And, you know, looking back, it's all stuff that I really regret. But thinking about what I was going through at the time and the thoughts that were going through my head, you know, my friends, of course I apologized and everything, but my friends got over it.
Yeah.
Real friends get over it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Stuff like that, you know?
Because they have empathy for what you're going through, and they can imagine themselves not being able to make sense of that either.
Yeah, and that's still a concept that I'm sort of mulling around in my head and constantly reevaluating. Like I said, I got sober. My last drink was on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And I got really, 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 really drunk. Yeah. And,
imagine that.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Before you're going cold
so
turkey, geez Louise.
I hadn't planned on going sober.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the next morning I had a hangover or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, I had acted a fool in front of my children. I totally blew Christmas off this year. I was just really in a really, really dark place.
Yeah.
The next day I had decided that I just wasn't going to drink anymore.
Yeah.
It was the day after Christmas Day that I finally was just like, I got a problem with this. I got to stop. And I just stopped. I'm going on 2 months now sober, so I think that alcohol was sort of casting a veil over all of this stuff that I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Because Mindy had cancer, and then right after that, my mom passed away from Alzheimer's. I had already lost my oldest brother and my dad a few years earlier. So there was a lot of tragedy that had happened in really quick succession.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it all.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my way of dealing with it was to try and shut it all out by just being drunk. And the scariest thing is, and I think this is the scariest kind of alcoholic, is an alcoholic that is a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go to work drunk. I was sober when I went to work.
Yeah.
But I'd get home, I'd immediately crack 2 beers and slam both of them right away.
Yeah.
I'd have a beer with dinner, and then I'd have 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
And then put the kids to bed, and then I'd have a few more, and, maybe a pint of whiskey, and then take some Xanax and pass out.
Yeah.
And I was emotionally unavailable to my family, to my wife. I think, alcoholics and addicts have this common phrase where they talk about having a moment of clarity.
Yeah.
And I think when I sobered up that next morning, I just realized that none of this stuff that I'm trying to run from is going away.
No.
And the heavy alcohol use is really not helping. And in fact, it helps for a little bit when I fall asleep, but in the long run, it's really only exacerbating the problem.
Yeah, man. I feel like I can relate to that on so many levels. I feel like so many times, like the conversation, especially about alcohol, kind of turns into like, alcohol's the problem. Alcohol's the problem. I almost never believe that's true. I almost feel like, no, it's exactly what you're saying. Alcohol is helping to lower the hum that the problem creates. It's helping to drown it out. It's helping to make it more manageable. And it's really fucking effective. Like, I feel like I can make a really strong argument for alcohol. Like because even in my own life, I've had things that I've tried to deal with in that way. It's like, yeah, but what's going to happen? Like what's ultimately going to happen to me personally? If I keep trying to, like, I don't know, deaden this hum with alcohol or with overthinking or with all these different things that I head for. Anyway, I'm not trying to sound like I have an answer for you. I'm just trying to say I can relate to those kinds of scenarios. And it's like, no, I've got some fucking issues that I have to deal with. Like at some point, like I can't keep drinking this away. Like I have to face it in a healthier way.
Like looking back, I remember, like, there was one night I passed out. Mindy found me passed out in the living room, and I had drank an entire 5th of whiskey.
Oh my God, Andy!
And I was flipping through old pictures of my family.
Yeah.
And
do you remember why?
Why I was flipping through the old pictures? I don't know. I mean, I had taken out an old photo album, just started flipping through pictures. You know, you can long for those moments in the past forever to come back, but they're never going to. Like there's all of these things that, you know, like you were talking about, you know, alcohol is an effective solution.
Yeah.
For a time. And there are some people that are able to manage that and not become an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've found is there are some people that can manage that and be normal.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
I tend to wallow in my grief, and to a certain extent, I like that place. And then there were other little realizations too, like when you're a kid, you know, in your teens and 20s, and you get drunk, fall down and throw up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like charming and cute. I remember that night when you got really drunk.
Right.
When you become an adult, it's not cute anymore.
Yeah.
It's really sad to the people around you, because they're like, you know, they can see that there's a problem and they don't know how to help you. You know? Yeah. When you're younger, you're the wild man and the party animal. But when you get older, you're like, that guy's got a problem.
Do you feel like that describes you? Do you feel like you were that in a younger life?
I think so, yeah. I was pretty wild and I liked partying and stuff like that. But I wasn't like, I don't think the alcohol became a real problem until the cancer and my mom passing away hit really hard.
Sure.
And then I just couldn't, I had a hard time just not doing it. I had to have it every night.
Do you feel like you were, I don't know, thinking about like a younger you as like a party animal and like kind of being a jackass, like most people are, like when they're younger.
Right.
Do you feel like you were drinking similar things away? What's the difference now, you feel like?
Yeah, well, I think definitely for sure I was drinking similar things. I don't want to get into that stuff because that's a whole other.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast in and of itself.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, we're all trying to escape from something to a certain degree. You know.
Yeah. Something
we regret, or you know, something that we're grieving, or you know, those feelings are hard to navigate through.
Yeah.
The thing is, you know, like the to quote Robert Frost, the only way out is through.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with that work. I actually worked it into a line from the last record that we put out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I love that.
Trying to avoid it's not going to make the problem ever go away, and you're never going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Kind of almost have to, like for me, this is a little bit of maybe a Buddhist kind of thing, but
yeah, do it.
I just had to embrace the shittiness of all of it. You know what I mean?
You mean embrace the shittiness of it, or embrace that you can't change it, or
both?
Okay.
Like this sucks. You know, trying to escape it isn't going to make it go away. So I just have to be in it and just deal with what's in front of me.
Yeah.
As opposed to try and hide from it, which is not to this. I mean, I don't mean this in a disingenuous kind of way, but it's really what Little is all about. The book Little, the children's book.
Yeah.
You know, it's about facing down the juggernaut in front of you that you think you can't handle.
Yeah.
You know, and finding out that maybe you can handle it.
It sounds like this is part of your therapy. This is what your art is.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, you know, the next one is the cosmic horror that I'm working on is about letting go of grief.
Yeah.
And the one that I'm working on that's going to come on the tails of Little is very much, you know, they're big concepts and they're important lessons, but they're geared towards kids. So
Andy, I really love all of this, and I feel like I would be remiss to not tell you that I'm really proud of you. I know you.
Thanks, man.
You and I don't hang out like regularly, and we don't get to like have the kind of like bro down relationship because we live so far away. But I know that you've been through some really tough things, and I really, really appreciate you talking to me about them and being so open about them. I'm really proud of you for for being sober this long. I'm really proud of just the emotional intelligence that it sounds like you're displaying right now. Like just being able to kind of put a name to certain things and put a name to certain problems or behaviors. And yeah, man, I just want to encourage you. It sounds like you're on a good track, because I know it's really fucking hard.
Yeah, it is.
So,
yeah, man, and I'm glad we got to have this talk. Finally, it got put off a couple times because of schedules and stuff, but I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, dude,
it was a good conversation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for giving me your time.
Mind if I plug my book? Officially?
Yeah. No, please do it.
So the book is called Little. It's on Ink and Tea Publishing. So if you go to Ink and Tea Publishing, I believe it's inkandteapublishing.com. The last podcast I did, I gave the wrong information. But Shannon set me straight on that. She's like, that's our old website, right?
Yeah.
She's like, it'll redirect people to the new one, but that's our old shit. You should probably know what we're doing now.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's inkandteapublishing.com. And if you go to Ink and Tea on Facebook or on Instagram, we have links in the bio on our bio on Instagram that'll take you to purchase pre-release copies of the book, or pre-order copies of the book.
Yeah. On
Sunday the 10th, we'll be at the Book Bar signing copies, and I'll be reading the story to a group of children. It'll be a good time. It's going to be cake and and sandwiches and stuff for the kids, and we'll have some little activities for the kids to do. And so come join us.
That's awesome, Andy.
At the Book Bar on Sunday, February 10th in Denver, Colorado.
Awesome. That's great.
Cool.
Thanks for spending time with me tonight, Andy.
Right on, man. Thank you.
11T Life is a production of Rock Candy Recordings and Rock Candy Media. Want more shows like this one? Get your shit together and subscribe to 11T Life on your